this meeting to order. Katie, please take the roll.
Sherry Richmond. Here. Donald Dale.
Here.
Darlene Fetty. Here. John Capes is absent. Hope Ing.
Present.
Robert Garland.
Here.
Eddie Oakley.
Here.
Peggy Levi.
Here.
Robert Kuhn.
Here.
Councilmember Glanville is absent. A quorum is present.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve May the 11th, regular planning board meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Jose?
Good evening, planning board members. I will make this quick since this is a continuance of our rezoning case 2026-01 at 4909 Guilford College Road. I just want to provide a brief update of the change conditions, and then I'm going to hand it off to the applicant to kind of tell you where we are since we last continued the hearing. So as part of the application, there was a change in conditions, and I'll read the following conditions. Number one is still the same. Uses are limited to churches and any church-related accessory uses and single-family residence and residential accessory uses. Number two, still the same as well. A request for historic de-designation must be approved by town council separately. And then one of the change conditions is a privacy fence 6 feet in height shall be installed adjacent to the single-family subdivision to the east according to the concept plan, which is included in your packet. Two additional conditions were added. Any additional built-upon area on the property must meet stormwater regulations for the Jamestown Land Development Ordinance. This project, if it does go through like any other site plan, has to go through our technical review committee process where myself and our town engineer has to review this, and our town engineer is responsible for reviewing the stormwater and making sure that the property drains properly. And then last but not least, the property must meet additional development standards for church, synagogue, and place of worship on single-family residential zoning district, and that is on our Land Development Ordinance, Section 10.1-12. And I do want to go over those standards. So for any churches on single-family residential, they do have additional standards, and the applicant wanted to highlight those given through this condition. So I'm just going to mention a couple of the standards that kind of protect any single-family residential districts around this project. For example, exterior lighting shall be directed or screened so as to protect the privacy and private living areas and associated open spaces of adjacent residential properties. All exterior lighting shall be full cutoff fixtures. There's also a standard accessory dwelling units for persons associated or employed by the church, synagogue, or place of worship may be provided at a ratio of 1 unit for each unit and acre on site. So again, if this would be a civic rezoning like it was previously, then these standards wouldn't apply. So this would increase the number of standards that this project would have to meet. Another standard is religious institution accessory uses are not permitted as principal uses, and a district shall adhere to the following restrictions. No merchandise or merchandise display shall be visible from outside the building. No business or identification sign exceeding 6 square feet pertaining to the accessory uses shall be visible from outside the building. And again, application for zoning permit shall include a comprehensive site plan that addresses the required standards for the main site and any abutting holdings. So just wanted to go over those standards. Are there any questions about the updated conditions, or are y'all comfortable with me letting the pastor continue? Yes?
Yes, you mentioned something about stormwater regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Why weren't they applied before?
When were they applied?
If residents are having problems with the water, why wasn't that fixed before this happened?
So I'm assuming that the project was, 2004 when the church was built? So I wasn't present during that time. I was in high school. So I'm not sure why that was not applied before. However, any future development or any development that gets applied today must meet those standards.
Yeah, well, that's my
and
question.
and
Why
one of the
wasn't
questions,
before?
and also the pastor did include an engineer report as well as part of the packet, and he's willing to discuss that as well, to go over that. Any other question? Okay, all right, Pastor Quan.
Good evening, you go. Jamestown leadership, appreciate you guys coming back out tonight. Just from the last time we were here, of course, the full details you all have been given. I'm happy to answer any question that you might have. Ma'am, we're addressing stormwater. Everything we've always done has been permitted and gone through each stage of stormwater requirements up until this point, and we've gained occupancy. So we work through Jamestown and also Guilford County on all types of ordinances and regulations. So I can't answer the question as to, I just know that you needed to know we did it the right way through the right process. So yes, it was done that way. But last time we were here, per your recommendation, you asked us to get with our neighbors, and I want to welcome our neighbors here tonight, and also some from Harvest Church that were able to attend that meeting. But that was held at Harvest Church on May 28th. We had about approximately 17 neighborhood residents and then about 20 Harvest Church members to attend because we do care about our community. And one of the things that we discussed in that meeting, and again, the whole agenda is in your packet, but one of the things that we wanted to share with our community was what we were doing for our community that they weren't aware of, and I'm sure it's my fault. That's why we're trying to be better neighbors. But our goals for that meeting was to provide a welcoming, environment where we could be together, Harvest Church folks in the neighborhood. So we had some refreshments and some opportunity for, we opened it up for a tour of facilities. We were going to take them around our property. But, and then just continue the dialogue that began during the first meeting. That was May 11th, right? I think so. And share who we were as a church, provide an overview of the work in our community, and then address, which seems to be the main challenge here, is the drainage and stormwater concerns, and supported by and provided by a licensed and civil engineer. So I'll just continue on, and then I'll be able to highlight a few more things so that we can address what you need to know. But so we're discussing we discussed the intended uses for the house. We were very specific in that two-page summary. The barn, the other existing structures of the property located on the 4703 Jamesford Drive, which is the property that we are endeavoring to purchase and rezone. So we're inviting feedback from the neighbors, the residents regarding communication. Even we are open to talk about event operational hours. We're open to having a key point person that we would allow our neighbors to know and even invite them to different events if they would like to come. They certainly would be welcome. So what was actually discussed, along with what I just mentioned, is that the car lights from existing parking lots shining at the residences, and that's why we had some things added that we want to do for our neighbors. Matter of fact, as he already discussed, we'd like to put up a 6-foot fence that borders the whole property. And then also on the parking lot lights, any way we can shield and work on helping them not have too much light in their area is something that we were willing to work on as well. I did bring to that meeting a civil engineer, Jeremy McCall. He worked for Guilford County for years, and his specialty is stormwater. And so I did bring him to that meeting, and I can tell you this, with all good conscience and in good faith, I brought him there to help us investigate what's going on. And it wasn't there he's an independent individual who's been in the business for 26 years. And so the residents, again, expressed concerns regarding the potential residential use, and I do want to cover that as well. And for clarity, because it wasn't as clear as I needed to be last time when I was here, is I wanted to make sure everybody knows that Harvest Church does not operate a residential addiction recovery home. Never have, never plan on it. We do, however, partner with organizations such as Teen Challenge, what's the ladies? Tabitha House, and other opportunities where we support them. We send people to those places when it demands full-time care, but that does not happen on Harvest Church properties, nor do we plan on it. right now and not in the future. I wanted to address the white car that was located in the rear of the property. That's not indigent. That's not just someone showing up there. That is somebody actually that goes to Harvest Church that we've sent through the Teen Challenge residential program right now, and he's doing very well, by the way. The church also, just as far as for safety, for the different things we had heard about people going into the barn and so forth, sort of loitering around. One of the things we've done at Harvest Church for years, we have cameras all over the place just so that in the event something shows up, we immediately address it. And also, we have officers, sheriff, and police on premise just about every day of the week. And we have a good relationship with them because we also providing the best care that we can for our Harvest Church family and community and safety. They actually are hired per each service or per each event, and we have security at every single event. So we wanted to make sure, and anytime out of the ordinary things that have happened were reported to us, we addressed it immediately, and that's where I also wanted to have some sort of point person with the neighborhood there that in the event that they saw somebody loitering or they saw something that was unusual, that they could notify us and we would address it right away. But everything is very secure there, and we're happy to provide our number and happy to provide what we need to as far as information exchange, and we're trying to communicate better, which I know that was something that we didn't do well with the first meeting. As shared in the first meeting, the house on Jamestown, or it's actually called Jamesford Drive property, it's intended for used to be for some offices for Harvest Church, also for harvest groups, similar ministry gatherings such as men's groups. They don't stay there. They use the facilities maybe once a week, every other week, could be once a month for groups such as women's groups, singles groups, business groups, that they meet together and they collaborate and they learn and grow together. Homeschool groups, special needs parents groups. We have all these at Harvest, and even same interest groups like golf groups. And then also freedom support groups, such as people that are supporting each other as they are walking in freedom, and it's a very strong group, and they're doing very well. The residents expressed concerns regarding drainage affecting the properties as mentioned in 4902, 4905, 4907, 4908, 4909, Acacia Court. And I just want to make sure in addressing the first question here today is from the very beginning, we've always been permitted. We've always gone through the standards of Guilford County, and we've always gone through the standards of Jamestown. So we've always been above them. If you look at even the public records, you'll see how much we've permitted and the plans that we've always submitted and the plans that we followed through based upon the guidance we received from Jamestown and Guilford County. And we do, the unique location where we are, sometimes we work with both and whatever's required. So Harvest Church sought an objective evaluation based on site data concerning the water, and that's why we did an engineering analysis, because I truly wanted to know what is going on. And I'm not an expert, I'm not a civil engineer. That's why we actually hired that person to be there to actually collaborate or even share with the community and walk with them through every house and every affected area. And so the engineer did meet with the affected residents privately, and he did submit a sealed official document from his company and his experience. It saddened me just a little bit because we did try to do everything that I've just discussed here, talk through just about any type of solution that we have been willing to collaborate, and we want best for all parties involved for fair ways of operating. I have to say that I sort of just did everything we could to have a good meeting there, and it just got to the point where I had to just complete the meeting. I understand there's hurt involved. Doing my best to be a good neighbor and moving forward and trying to be a part of the solution. So, but basically, when I mentioned the concessions and we had sort of a dynamic communication, basically I said, so you're saying if we make these changes, if we help be part of the solution of the water, if we look at that and we need to be part of the solution, we're willing to be, and basically just seemed like every concession I was willing to make, the meeting ended saying that, no, we just don't want you to have the property. So at that point, what I did, I said, listen, I've hired this civil engineer. He's has to conduct his business according to, governing rules and all that kind of stuff and seal the But I said, listen, let me just send him with you. Go ahead and walk out through your properties. And he did that. And so he contacted me a little bit later on, let him know that we did, in fact, go and walk over the properties. And so then he, in turn, put together that report that's in your packet. And, sometimes I was concerned because I don't want to deal with it seems like. But he was not there for me to pay him to favor our report. He was there to do unbiased, independent study. And that's what he submitted. The other things that I really don't have to discuss are the concessions and different things from Harvest Church. But once the report was submitted from our civil engineer, a neighboring resident expressed disagreement with his report and didn't agree with his conclusions and indicated an intention to seek an independent engineer. And so, because I'm trying to be part of the solution, I forwarded this information to him. And he communicated with the person that reached back, and he said his conclusions were based on site data, elevation information, data, the drainage patterns, and professional stormwater analysis, both from now and in the past. And he also offered that if they do have an independent civil engineer to come and assess that they hire, he's happy to provide all the plans he has, all the CAD drawings, and anything to be a part of the solution as we're continually trying to be a better neighbor than we have been in the past. So since our first meeting, we sought to engage as was requested, and I absolutely wanted to. And we had that meeting, tried to have openness, transparency, sincere desire to find constructive solutions. And while differences of opinion remain, we're still going to be committed to continue to listen carefully if we're allowed to, if we're wanted to. The conclusion of that meeting pretty much said that that was not wanted. But we're still willing to do it. We're still willing to talk. We're still willing to share. We're still willing to, being professional and also being business-minded, we have to bring in the experts that actually tell us what's happening. So that's what we did. And so we're here to continue to be a part of the solution here moving forward as we apply for rezoning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I would like to open the floor up for public hearing. So come up, thank you. Please state your name and adhere to the 3 minutes, please.
And what?
Adhere to the 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Debbie Marlowe, and I'm not going to keep reiterating everything, but the neighborhood and all the neighbors are still very opposed to anything but a single-family residence. We still have the water issues, and the civil engineer came out there, and even me told him, water doesn't run uphill, and he is telling you we're getting water from Grandover. If you look at the pictures that I've sent you, there's the drains from Grandover. We don't even get any rain from Grandover, and our water runs down to the Grandover drains. So, and you could see Acacia Court from his picture goes uphill. Water doesn't run uphill, and he sat there and told us that. He listened to nothing we said. I want to point out that I have given you pictures of the land with the pasture fence at all of my neighbor's yard. That pasture fence was put in an original pasture from 2003 and before. It's still there. And right behind the pasture fence, a good little distance, about 5-6 feet, is all these rocks and cement, where they have built up a wall that starts at 8 foot, goes to 6 feet, as it's going down and sloping to the original pasture that's there now they're gonna buy. My concern is that water's still gonna have problems, as well as the new, when they put it in there. Maybe the civil engineer proved water's not coming off the parking lot, but look at the slope of the land from the parking lot completely goes to that, to the bound areas with the fence. Then the other one I want to point to you is you got a Google map, and it shows no rocks or debris, Google Earth from 2010. I've got 2002, which was the original pasture. When the land was sold, the man in 2004 built a church. So is his topographical report after it had already been graded? I don't know. But then you look at these pictures of Google Earth 2010 and 2012. They show no areas of rocks or the cliff, but then you go to 2012, and it literally shows the rock that's been put in to backfill to equal their parking lot. That rock is at our ground level. It is right there with the pastures, and that starts the beginning of when they were going to backfill. The pastor told us numerous times all the money he spent to build up that back parking lot, and apparently it wasn't told to the engineer, because he's trying to say the pasture was that high to start with, and that is not true. We have hired our own engineer who will also conduct their field tests during rain, so they will see the water coming down. The swell in Miss Holliday's yard was created from the water runoff. It was not natural flow. It was created from the water coming down this cliff that's 8 foot with the pasture fence down here at our level, not up here. Anybody with a horse pasture would put the fence at the top of the hill if they had one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will anyone else like to speak?
My name's Paula Kelly. My husband's Joseph Kelly. We own 4908 Acacia Court. Bought our home 40 years ago. We've lived there since. Our property is going to be most affected by this because it's a total of 365 feet of our yard, our entire backyard and our entire right rear yard. There is already a 6-foot fence, which we put in. We've let the brush overgrow for a barrier for noise. The car lights, the parking lot's above, so the car lights are going to hit our house whether they replace the fence or not. Our major concern, and it's a legitimate concern, our well is 22 feet from the property line in the back. This compromises our water. If he comes in to put in another parking lot, which he keeps saying I may not, the vibration of the heavy equipment and machinery, it can compromise our well and the structure and integrity of it. It can also, contamination risks, chemical runoff, sediment in our water. There's a lot of issues that can happen within 20 feet of our well. Our well was on the farm originally. Our well's in the back. It can reduce the water quality. The construction and development will increase pumping, can create what's called a cone of depression in the aquifer. The aquifer is under all our homes. If ours is messed up, they've got no water. And the vibration from equipment can do that because our well is over 50 years old. And we're very concerned about that. It can make our well run dry. We can have dry spells. And like I said, our well connects to all our neighbors. I don't think the church has taken that into consideration. That's our only water source that we do have. I'm very concerned about the noise level going up. I'm very concerned about the house. The last meeting, he did bring up having a recovery center, and then he said he didn't say that. Then he said they were going to have field days in the field or fun for the kids. At the community meeting, he said he didn't say that. This engineer walked around with his hands in his pocket, looked at our grass, took a picture here and there. He measured nothing. He didn't do the scope of the water flow, nothing. He just walked around and looked. Yeah, I see, yeah. Then he sat in his car and took a picture of the road. It was not a professional done job. I mean, I could have walked around and said, yeah, it is wet out here, isn't it? That's probably just from this swell that she built. She did not build a swell. My 90-year-old neighbor did not build a swell. That's 5 foot on our property as well. We didn't put a swell in. That's a natural runoff from that 8-foot barrier. And like I said, go on Google Earth. Look, from 1987 to today, and you can see where they built the parking lot up, then 8-foot drop to our backyards. It is a safety issue. People back up and dump trash in our backyard from that parking lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, please state your name and adhere to the 3 minutes, please.
My name is Sarah Burns. I'm reading on behalf of our neighbor Donna, who cannot be here because she's on a mission trip with her own church in Kentucky. Dear rezoning board members, we as a group with Mr. Cohn and I personally do not feel any better about his plans for the proposed rezoning of the property. He still does not seem to have a clear, precise vision for the property that could possibly spell disaster for our neighbors. When we asked what he wants to do with the land if the house rezoning is passed, he gives too many variables. One time his answer is to provide housing for visiting pastors, another it was to provide offices for the church, and another time his answer was to provide housing for rehab persons. None of us want any rehab people to be staying in that house or rehabilitation meetings. To us, that could pose danger to the neighbors because at any time those people could walk away looking for drugs or alcohol, and for those things, they would need money. As I had stated in the last meeting, my property is the lowest property in the landscape, and I already take on a lot of excess water from other properties. I have 2 storm drains on my property measuring 2.5 feet by 3 feet, and they still do not take all the water away. If Mr. Cohn makes a parking lot, it will create more impervious land, which will possibly cause more water problems for my property. Also, the runoff water from the parking lot would drain directly on the land where my well is. He has plenty of land on the other side of the church that could be used for his parking lot and additional buildings, so why take the green space away and make it into a barren parking lot? I will also add my own statement. I have never had a good neighbor that had to be told to be a good neighbor by a planning board. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and adhere to the 3 minutes, please.
My name is Daniel Burns. I live at 4903 Acacia Court. I see the pastor took my advice and brought some of his congregation this time. My main concern is all of the vague planning. We've heard, like a couple people have mentioned, initially it was a parking lot, then it wasn't a parking lot. I think the one that kind of really is the biggest red flag to me is the visiting pastors that can't afford to take a vacation, so that was going to be a vacation spot for them. That seems really like a really big stretch, and I don't want to question anybody's integrity, so I don't want to say that you're telling me that, saying one thing and planning to do another. I feel that there's not really a plan here at all. There's other land they own. It's a giant church. They have several branches. They are looking to expand, is what I can assume, just from looking at their other churches and how they've operated. The part about the community, we talked about that a little bit, and nobody questions if a church is out doing good deeds and helping people that need to be in recovery and things like that. We're talking about our community that is directly behind you. And all this talk about we want to be a good neighbor, we want to reach out, that's great. That's like when my kid, when he was 10 years old, started doing all his homework and all his chores because the new game was coming out in a couple weeks. Where has this been the last 22 years or however long this church has been here? I would see this a lot differently if we had maybe a year or two of them being that kind of neighbor before coming and doing this. It's always easy to be a good neighbor when there's something you stand to gain from it, and now suddenly we want to all have conversation. I did not get to attend the meeting. Got the notice a few days, and we were taking a trip up the coast. So generally, that's my general. I think everyone else kind of covers the technical aspects and the safety concerns, but for me, it's really about the vague plans or lack of plans, and the fact that they kind of keep changing or evolving, and when it's changed that much in, 2 or 3 weeks since we had the last meeting here, I just feel like I'm going to choose to assume that there's really not a plan as opposed to assuming that it's intentionally misleading. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Please state your name and adhere to the 3 minutes.
Yes, James Williford. Good afternoon, or good evening. My name is James Williford. My wife and I live in a house directly behind the house at 4909 Guilford College. We're concerned about our privacy, our safety, our overall quality of life if this goes forward, not to mention the loss in property value. There's only about around 100 foot between the back of our house and the back of the house at 4909. I think there were some pictures in the pamphlets they passed out. Let's see, and that is separated already by a 6-foot fence, and we can still plainly see the back of the house. We can hear them when they're outside, which is fine because they're our neighbors, and we want it to be a neighborhood. I mean, we want to watch over each other, so we don't have a problem as long as it's a neighborhood. We don't want it to be anything other than a neighborhood. We chose this location 30 years ago because it was a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. At that time, there was only a flat horse pasture with horses, where the church and parking lot now are. Yesterday, like many other Sundays, our peace was disturbed by a car alarm going off in the church parking lot. It has done in the past, and it continues to go off for an extended period of time until the service is concluded, evidently. We feel that the property, 4909, is our only remaining buffer to the church and what occurs there. This is not a small community church trying to acquire a parsonage for residents. This is a large church that evidently is outgrowing its current space and is trying to take over part of our neighborhood to extend their parking and have a multi-use facility rather than a residence. Would you want that in your backyard? For all these reasons, we ask that you not approve this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please state your name and adhere to the 3 minutes, please.
My name is Jeffrey Shipman, and I live at 4902 Cassia Court. What I want to say here, Pastor, the community don't dislike it. It's a beautiful community, and there's loving people there. And it took me a while to adjust to the community because when I first moved there, I've been there for 5 years. When I got there, the first thing I said, oh, here we go, you know what I'm saying? And nobody looked like me over here, so it's going to be a problem. But it wasn't. Every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, they bake me something to put it by my door. So it's not that they don't like you. It's just that they're trying to protect their home. That's it. I mean, I promise you, if you came over there and you would talk to us about it, we wouldn't even be here right now. Because I know her, I know James, I went to his house with the engineer, and I see that when I looked up in the air, I said, somebody's going to be looking at that, looking at your house. And if his wife is inappropriate dress, then that means somebody's going to be, it's a violation of him. So, and then I looked at the water, it is built up high. It is coming down. I talked to the engineer because I'm a contractor, he's an engineer. I talked to him, he explained to me how the water is coming down. It's flooding her yard, and it's coming across the street to my yard. I got puddles in there, which I don't even cut the grass no way, however. It's a flood over there. It's a flood right there in my backyard. But what I wanted to stress to you, the most important thing is that please don't be angry with the neighbors and stuff. It's a loving community, and I promise you, if you talk to them, communicate with them and stuff like that, you'll find that they will be your neighbor as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Everybody's good? Okay. All right, planning board, let's discuss. Katie, well, we'll discuss and then you'll take the roll, so I will defer to the planning board. Who wants to go first?
I'm just looking at the information that we all get, and Harvest Church, number one, who we are and some of what we are doing. And Open Door Ministries, homelessness, I don't know if that's addressing the ministry itself or, I'm still thinking of the neighbors and what the house could possibly be used for, because that hasn't been exactly defined consistently, what the house would be used for, because we have a jail and prison ministry also. And I guess I'm just concerned if I were a neighbor what all would be going on that property. And then some concerns of transient people staying in house if rezoned. I think the minister addressed a little bit of that, but the drainage issues, I think that, I don't know how else to address that. We seem to have two very different facts or data or experiences on both sides of that issue. So I still have some concerns about what the church is going to be doing with the property. And if it is up higher, you know, lights, noise, and other things will go over that 6-foot fence. So I have some concerns about quality of life, and that goes with our guiding principle number 2. On page 21 of our Envision Jamestown Comprehensive Plan. If everybody has that. The strength of our community is directly tied to the long-term success of our neighborhoods. We will work diligently to promote and maintain the quality of life and aesthetic standards that our residents expect in Jamestown. So I guess I went to that for several of those reasons, and we have to go to a guiding principle anyway. So I went to number 2. And the first bullet, prevent the emergence of blighting influences and public nuisances, which the church may not have. But I'm not clear as to what they will have in residential areas. And so that's where I went to, is guiding principle number 2, if anybody else has any thoughts.
Okay. Anyone else want to give their feedback?
So, I agree with you. To be honest, I would like to thank the church for actually inviting the community to come out and speak. That definitely is a key step in this whole process. I do tend to lean that it could be interpreted that it does match the comprehensive plan in certain regards. That being said, our job here is not just does it match the comp plan. Is the request reasonable, and is it in the public's best interest? Where I might believe that it matches the comp plan, I am unsure if it is both reasonable and matches the public's best interest. Just given the concerns and the overwhelming testimony we've received from the residents, it definitely seems that there is a lot of information and a lot of unknowns out there in regards to the impact that this particular rezoning could have on the neighborhood behind the church. The well and aquifer impact is probably one of the larger concerns that I would have as a neighbor, if that's my only source of water. The drainage issues, I appreciate you bringing out that study. I would be very interested to see y'all's study as well. It is definitely a concern. I actually went and looked at the property today. I didn't go into any of y'all's backyards, so don't worry, I wasn't snooping around. But I walked around the church property today. I can definitely see where the concerns are coming from the neighbors. Depending on where you put your 6-foot fence, I think would depend on how much of that light from headlights it could block. Fences are great, but they're not going to block out car horns or car alarms or anything along those lines. That being said, I don't think it should be an expectation of neighbors to anticipate complete silence when you have a church next door. You're going to have car horns, you're going to have car alarms, you're going to have street noise. Those are things that you should reasonably expect living in a neighborhood, especially close to Guilford College. That being said, I can definitely understand the concern. I appreciate you narrowing down the list of use for the proposed property. I still think it's very broad, and so I'd be interested to know a little bit more about that. But that's just my thoughts. I don't know if anyone else would like to share theirs as well.
I'll just say that my concerns go along with both Sherry's and yours.
I also feel that if an improvement on one neighbor is a detriment to another, and not just a perceived detriment, but the water is and I know that they would do further studies and whatever, but once it's contaminated, it's going to be a huge thing. And that really concerns me.
Okay. At this time, we will make a motion to either approve or deny. Katie, please take the roll.
We gotta make a motion.
Oh,
Someone's gotta
well,
make a motion. So I would also like it to be known that whatever motion it is that we do determine today, this is not a final decision. So we are simply making a recommendation to the town council. So for either party, if the recommendation is not what you would particularly prefer, your fight doesn't necessarily end here. And I would highly suggest that you continue this conversation with town council as well. That being said, I would like to make a motion for the proposed zoning amendment. I would like to make a motion to deny. The proposed zoning amendment is consistent with the adopted comp plan.
One second. So we need a motion to recommend the denial, and then that'll be the second part.
Sorry,
That's okay.
I make a motion to deny.
So to recommend the denial of the rezoning request for 4909 Guilford College Road from ag to conditional zoning, single-family residential. And I need a second.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Sherry Richmond?
I vote no. Well,
Aye.
yeah.
Donald Dell?
I vote to deny.
Darlene Fetty?
Vote for denial?
Robert Garland?
Vote for denial.
Eddie Oakley?
To deny.
Peggy Levi?
Vote to deny.
Robert Kuhn?
Vote to deny.
The motion passes.
Katie, has anyone signed up for,
One second.
okay.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me find my.
Number two.
I make the motion that the proposed zoning amendment be rejected based on the following. The proposed zoning amendment is consistent with the adopted comp plan of the town of Jamestown. The board finds the proposed zoning amendment is generally consistent with the comp plan because the proposed institutional and residential related uses align with the land use patterns and development vision contemplated for this area. The proposed zoning amendment is not reasonable. The board considers the proposed zoning amendment to be unreasonable because the board further finds that the proposed zoning amendment is unreasonable because of evidence presented during the public hearing indicates the existing development associated with the adjoining church property has resulted in ongoing concerns regarding stormwater runoff and drainage impacts affecting neighboring residential properties. The board further finds that the proposed zoning amendment is unreasonable because the proposed future use of the property has not been sufficiently defined to allow the board to fully evaluate the scope, intensity, and impacts of the amendment on adjacent residential properties. The proposed zoning amendment is not in the best interest. I'm sorry. The proposed zoning amendment is in the best interest. The board considers the proposed zoning amendment to be against the public interest because the board finds the proposed zoning amendment is against the public interest. Evidence was presented that existing church-related parking and activity generate noise impacts affecting neighboring residential properties, and the board finds insufficient evidence demonstrating that future expansion of activities or parking facilities can be accommodated without further adverse impacts to adjacent residents.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Katie, has anyone signed up for public speaking?
Nobody signed up.
Okay. All right. Jose, do we have any updates?
Yes, just a couple of updates, although this is not planning board related. We do have a variance to reschedule for July for in-town property, so you'll be getting a meeting request soon, and we will be meeting at our next planning board meeting on July 12th. We do have ordinance update amendment for our flood damage prevention ordinance, which we have to update to mirror state and federal guidelines. So it is a compliance item. The report's going to be long, but I'll be happy to meet with you all to kind of discuss the changes. So that's about it for my updates.
Okay, thank you. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.